Okay, it's 9 o'clock. I'll call the December 17th, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll start with the agenda review.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda this morning.
Move the review.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Move on to Property and Environmental Services.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning. Good morning.
Okay, go ahead, George.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PC 23-19 is a request from Robert and Michelle Schrader. Is a request for review and approval of a conditional use permit to operate a reception, banquet hall, meeting facility. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 3, Lincoln Township. Mr. Leary presented the staff report. The applicants were present and had no additional comments. There was no public comment and little discussion by the Planning Commission. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward to the County Board a recommendation of approval based on the findings and conditions prepared by staff. And the board action is the resolution.
Okay, very good. This time I'll open the public comment portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to PC 23-19? If so, please come to the podium, state your name and address. Is there anyone that would like to speak to PC 23-19? Please come to the podium. Is there anyone that would like to speak to PC 23-19? If not, I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, bring it back to the board for action.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. Okay.
PC 24-19 is a request from Patrick and Gail Caven for review and approval of a conditional use permit to transfer a residential development right owned by John Keatzer to land currently owned by Gordon and Dorothy Kopishki. The sending quarter is zoned agricultural and the receiving quarter is zoned conservation. The receiving quarter also has an area within the Shoreland Overlay District of the Blue Earth River. This request will send the residential development right from the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 35, Vernon Center Township, to the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 35, Vernon Center Township. Mr. Stubbs presented the staff report. The applicants were present and had no additional comments. There was no public comment and little discussion by the Planning Commission. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward to the County Board a recommendation of approval based on the findings and conditions prepared by staff. Mr. Chairman and other commissioners, on December 12th, I received comments from the Vernon Center Township Board. The applicants had attended a meeting on December 11th to explain their request. The Vernon Center Township Board had no issue with the request provided all county and state regulations were met, and the board action is the resolution.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'll open the public comment portion of the meeting. Is there anyone that would like to speak to PC 24-19? Please come to the podium. Anyone that would like to speak to PC 24-19, please come to the podium. Is there anyone that would like to speak to PC 24-19? If not, I'll close the public comment portion, bring it back to the board for action.
I'll move approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Okay.
PC 25-19 is a request from Dan Apple on property owned by Donovan Apple and Arlene Speck for review and approval of a conditional use permit to construct and operate one new total confinement swine finishing facility capable of holding 3,000 finishing pigs between 55 and 300 pounds, or 1,200 Blue Earth County defined animal units, which is 900 state defined animal units. The proposal will utilize a below barn concrete liquid manure storage area. The site is zoned agricultural and is located in part of the southeast quarter of Section 13, Ira Township. Mr. Rolfing presented the staff report. The applicants were present and had no initial comments. Randall Middlestead, Gene Middlestead, and Eloise Ward spoke in opposition to the request, citing health issues, odor, lack of manure application fields, and the fact that the applicant does not live at the proposed site. Members of the Planning Commission indicated the project meets the setback requirements. It was also noted that the applicant must adhere to the state and county manure application requirements. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission to forward to the county board a recommendation of approval based on the findings and conditions prepared by staff. And the board action is the resolution.
Okay, at this time, I'll open the public comment portion of the meeting. Is there anyone that would like to speak to PC 25-19? Please come to the podium, state your name and address. Is there anyone that would like to speak to PC 25-19? Please come to the podium. Anyone that would like to speak to PC 25-19, please come to the podium. If there's no public comment, I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, bring it back to the board for action.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to kind of visit a little bit about the meeting we had the other day. We had some good discussion with the constituents that were concerned about the smell, and the applicant was going to let them know when he was going to be spreading, and his manure spreading was going to, the procedure was going to change a little bit. So there was some good discussion, and it passed without any issue. So
I've had several conversations with Mr. Apple myself, and I'm sure he'll do a good job with this. Okay, any other comments? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried.
that's all you got for us?
With the feedlot work plan.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today I'm looking for approval of the 2020-2021 MPCA County Feedlot Program Delegation Agreement, also known as the Work Plan. Delegated counties must submit a work plan to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to receive funding to carry out goals, plans, and minimum program requirements. The work plan reflects feedlot-related work to the county. Feedlot-related work the county is planning to do for the next 2 years. This plan is very similar to work plans from the past. The county plans to inspect and re-register every feedlot on a 4-year basis. This plan may be changed and resubmitted at any time if the county feels it is necessary to change its strategy. The following work plan has been reviewed by the regional MPCA staff as well as the MPCA County Feedlot Program Development Lead and has been approved. The board action is approval of the 2020-2021 work plan and the signature of the plan by the board chair. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll approve. Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Huh? Okay. Very good. If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved.
Did you notice in the free press this morning that it mentioned that tomorrow we're supposed to have the feedlot? Is that?
So, Mr. Sahlberger has sent a correction notice to the Free Press, and apparently it's on social media too. We have plans for putting signs up in the doorways that the meeting is not that day.
That was last week.
Correct. And I'm not sure what the error was because everything sent to them had the date from last week. So I'm not passing the buck, but I'm passing the buck.
Commissioners, last night when we noticed it on social media, I put corrections out there. I commented on the Free Press's post on behalf of the county, and I also shared it on our county social media posts. In my comments, I stated that the online survey is still open if there were comments. So
Thank
we
you.
kind of redirected the public to the online survey.
I just noticed it in the free press this morning. I thought, okay, I thought we did this last week.
Right.
But
We tried to catch them last night, but it must have been in print already. I guess.
I appreciated you hitting social media last night, though.
Yeah.
yeah, that was good.
Yep.
So,
It was a good meeting.
very
I thought
much.
we got a lot done. There's
Yes.
good feedback.
Yes.
You guys did a good job putting on the open house.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
move on to Human Services. Phil?
Morning, Phil.
Morning, Phil.
Morning, Phil.
Little paper?
Yeah, but you guys knew this.
You're in.
Right?
End of the year.
This is the time.
Make sure you get all those signatures you need this week instead of,
I was gonna say.
Doing my
you're-
exercise.
Yeah.
That's right.
so we have nothing to sign next year.
Right, exactly. We'll work on that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, I do apologize. I have a little cold. A lot of people do have stuff going on, so you'll hear that. And if you ask me a question, I might just stare at you and not have an answer. And Bob might help me out, or maybe not.
That's okay, I do that all the time.
It's just normal behavior. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I have many action items to bring before your attention. I'll try to move through them quickly, but certainly open to any questions, comments about any of these items. Starting in support of housing, we have a contract from Minnesota Department of Human Services for our regional housing grant. This is our ability to act as fiscal agent for the Southern Regional Project to end long-term homelessness, which is a 20-county area across southern Minnesota. Those counties are listed in the paragraph. The amount for that whole project over a 2-year period is $2,510,530. And that is a flat amount of funding from the previous cycle, no change. The term January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2021. The next section is adult mental health, one item, South Central Community-Based Initiative Joint Powers Board Agreement. This allows us to do our work in our adult mental health initiative, provision of mental health services for adults, and in some instances, children. We do case management, clubhouse, flexible funding, psychiatry, nursing, therapy services for residents in the 10 counties. The children's components include some psychiatric outreach now and the crisis outreach as well. So we want to make sure to include those. Lastly, the agreement allows us to be the fiscal agent for the FCCBI. It is a renewal agreement. The amount $1,510,827.43, 1.64% increase, and the term January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. Financial assistance, the next two items are very similar. Cato Cab, transportation for medical appointments, also receiving waivered services clients. The transportation rates are set by DHS, and the term is January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. AmeriCare Mobility Van LLP is a very similar contract, including medical assistance recipients, and the term is the same, January of 20 through December 31st of 20. And then finally, under financial assistance, Lingual One, they provide a large portion of our interpreting services. There are some increases in a couple of areas, $1 increase for interpreting that lasts more than an hour, also $1 increase for sign language interpreting. Anything less than an hour and phone interpreting rates remain the same. There is some reimbursement that we're able to get for some of these services through DHS, and the term is January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. Next section is mental health clinic, and the first two items kind of go together. Nicollet County contracts with us for psychiatric services that are not related to the initiative, so these are the community-based services that also, when people need attention for medication management, diagnostics, urgent care, and this is a renewal contract not to exceed $24,000 for Nicollet County, and the term is January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. Le Sueur is very similar. Middle of the paragraph, you'll see a description of 1 hour per month of psychiatric consultation provided by Dr. Farnsworth for the Human Services Adult Mental Health Unit in Le Sueur County, and the cap on that one is up to $27,000. Term is the same, January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. Our contact with Michael Goblish is next, certified nurse practitioner. He provides us psychiatric medication management, urgent care, and diagnostic assessments. We do have a statutory responsibility to provide these services to adults with serious and persistent mental illness. The contract rate is $102 per hour, not to exceed $106,080, represents a 7.3% increase, which is both a cost of living and a step increase on our clinic's pay scale. The term January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. Alliance Healthcare is our employer of record service that we use for a number of roles that we have in the clinic, and it does spill over into human services with a couple of contracted contracts that are contracted through Alliance Healthcare. The rates are unchanged. The way they structure their payment is gross wage plus 20% admin fee, but that admin fee also includes payroll taxes, workers' comp, unemployment insurance, and administration. The term for this contract is January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 2021. Adult Behavioral Health Unit, just one item, Rice County. We have a contract with them where we provide liaison case management. About halfway down the paragraph, you'll see these individuals are clients that we serve that are admitted to or being discharged from one of the state direct care and treatment programs, ANOCA, Community Behavioral Health, or Competency Restoration Program, and we've been successful in making sure that the transitions in and out are timely, and so our case manager helps not only our people, but also under this contract helps Rice County people that are in those transitional periods. We use our Seeger rate, which is currently at $97.26 per hour to bill this contract. The term January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. Under support services, we have our MRCI document scanning contract through MRCI WorkSource. This serves all of the human service units, as well as we've helped out in taxpayer services, highway department, and some with the county administration. There is a 2% increase in this contract. The total contract is $46,148.90, which is billed monthly. The term January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. Under public health, just one item, and that is our immunization registry grant through MDH, and it allows our community health board to authorize the work for vaccine preventable diseases. The amount of the award, it's a renewal, and the amount is $42,928, which represents a 7% increase from last year. And the term is January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. The next two items are similar under disability services, both buying contracts. The first one, helping seniors and recipients of social services with transportation. It fulfills a statutory responsibility both for the elderly and individuals with disabilities. The rates have remained the same, and the term is January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 2021. Very similar in the next buying contract. This one focuses on medical assistance recipients, and again, the rates have remained the same, and the term is the same of January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 21. Excuse me. The next two, I almost made it.
I was going to say,
It was really close.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
The next two transportation contracts, WS Transportation provides waiver transportation services. They are a common carrier agency is how we recognize them, and they help to gain access through community service resources and activities for individuals who need those access points into the community. The term is January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. Same for Care Transport LLC. They provide both medical appointments and waiver transportation. Same purpose is to access those necessary resources in the community through the transportation service. These are established at market rates, and I have brought those rates to the board and other areas to show there's kind of a base rate of $11 and then add on for mileage beyond that. So those are similar. There are some variances through that, but it is pretty regulated. And then the term of that last one is the same at January 1st of 20 through December 31st of 20. Finally, I would draw the board's attention to the first two attachments on this final action item, advisory committee and task force appointments. The first list shows the appointments that are new for 2020, and then there's a list of the reappointments for 2020 as well. There also is a second attachment which just shows the vacancy in each of the commissioner districts, just so that commissioners are aware if you happen to know anybody that would be interested. The contact there is through Noel Brunder in our office, and certainly you can come through me as well if you need any help with any possible volunteers in that regard. So, Mr. Chair, those are my action items for today.
Okay.
I'll move approval of the action items.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Back to the first one, supportive housing.
Yes.
What kind of dollar amount does that kind of work out for Blue Earth County and all those?
Well, it's interesting. I think we, to be honest, Commissioner, have a lion's share of some of that money that goes through just because it is based on a centralized intake, and Blue Earth County has just a lot of volume. So I think we have more than our kind of share, but it is more on a first come, first serve eligibility basis. So it does vary from year to year. And that amount, obviously the 2.5 is split between 2-year cycle.
Right. And that's, I don't know what the actual long-term homeless, when that begins or what.
Right, and so, and I know you are aware, Commissioner, of the different definitions, and this is that most stringent one where you have to be homeless for a certain amount of time, or have times where you've been in a shelter, so there's certain criteria that you have to reach. And then we have other programs that have a lighter definition, but this is that more involved one. Obviously, Olmsted would be another county that has high volume of utilization of this.
They take the bigger share of
Right,
it. Yeah.
and bigger than ours, right.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair, at the AMC conference, the governor said that he didn't think counties should have to pay for
I
DHS's
saw that.
mistakes. So it was a really positive thing, I thought.
It was, and I know that you resent out an email from AMC in that regard, and I think everyone got that as well as we were copied on that. And so I think it is a very positive result that the governors stand behind that, because up to that point it looked like what we had is the ability to say that we weren't going to pay, and now I think we have some political support from the top in that regard too. So, and thank you all for your support in that matter as well. It quickly got beyond the departmental level as far as some of the issues that are at play there. And I mean, we're not through it yet, but if it comes through the session and we have a good hearing on it, I think we would take that deal right now. So.
Yeah, with that, when I see money coming from DHS to the county, you just kind of, you're worried.
Right.
I mean, okay, is this money they're gonna ask us to pay back too?
Right.
You know, I mean, and of course we get millions
Absolutely.
over the course of the year and stuff for our constituents and stuff, and it's a scary thing. When
Absolutely.
they can't get their bookwork done properly,
Right.
it's really scary that they're handing it out, and you know, they need to understand what they're doing to counties
Sure.
by doing that. But
And Commissioner, you know, like in these items that we have under our mental health clinic, how complex some of the billing is. And so we have real experts that speak a different language in regard to how you gain money. But there's all kinds of rules about that we can sometimes realize that, oh, maybe there was an error or we need to rebill something. We have a year to do that, 1 year, not dating back years and years. So there are some business rules that need to be looked at as well. And I've talked to several of you and Bob about this issue as well, that I think there needs to be some business rules, and all of this is mistakes can be made, but I think there's a liability that goes along with those mistakes, and certainly we have those kinds of errors and business issues that come up in our practice as well. So yes, I don't look forward to being the guarantor of any DHS decisions as you suggest, Commissioner.
And the dollars for counties are so different. And one of the concerns that AMC has, and I'm sure that your association has talked about this, is they're not delineating out those dollars. So
Right.
one county only owes $44, and they're afraid that they might accidentally pay it,
Absolutely.
because it's not delineated out. So that's
Right, I know
concerning.
Bob and I talked about that particular issue as well, is the accounting of it and seeing how the mistakes were actually made and going back and understanding that. And yeah, at this point, they've talked about spreadsheets and they're being sent out, but I have not seen that detail. It would help if that was provided so that we could be assured, to the commissioner's point, that it's accurate, whatever the mistake is, and then the business rules apply after that of whose mistake was it and how do we sort through all that detail. So I think it's a really important issue to go slow and make sure we have our facts straight, yes.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else? Okay, I think we need to vote yet, don't we?
Right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are approved.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I knew that we would have a pretty lengthy amount of work for the action items. The last two attachments are some data just to keep the board apprised of how things are going within the department operations. The third attachment in your packet is about child care assistance program, and you'll see the month-over-month application of these resources to families. They list the number of families, the actual monthly expenditure, and the cost per family. The December amount is obviously projected out, but you'll see at the very end of the page, you really can't get it closer than that. It is a little bit of a guessing game, and the board's been aware at times we've had to put people on a waiting list to try to manage this, so it's a moving target, and try to guess at how it's going to come in. Certainly staff have done an outstanding job of guessing this year. It does feel like it's an inexact science, but we're at 99.64% of our allocation, and so we're looking to set up very well. There is some grace and some ability to, if you do go over, to try to claim back some of those funds. So there is some wiggle room, but it's not guaranteed. And back to the Commissioner's comment about when state funding comes in, you'd like to know what the rules are, and this one is a moving target at times, and so it looks like we're on track there. The second slide just shows some of our volume regarding family daycare licensing and child foster care licensing. The first two graphics, the arrows pointing down, is a concern that I know the board's aware of, and the board's been supportive of trying to incentivize some of our more rural areas of having family daycare. But you do see those numbers declining, especially in this last year. The newly licensed homes, in 18 we had 7 new licensed homes, 19 just 2, and then the number of daycare homes overall went from 103 to 91. So that trend continues to be a pretty serious concern for us. A difficult business to be in, but clearly a kind of foundational part of our community is to have daycare available to working families. Foster care is kind of the opposite picture, where we have been successful at licensing new homes. So the first arrow up from 2018, 21 newly licensed homes, whereas this last year was 38. And then the number of foster care homes overall went from 50 to 79. You'll see that circle graphic, that 19 of the homes currently are licensed to relatives, and so that's why you see some swing in the numbers. Is we try to go to family first. We do have to license those homes if a family is willing to take in a family member, and so some of that volume is pushed by that. That first priority is always try to keep kids within their families, if at all possible. And that's all I had for those two pieces of data.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you all.
Any questions for Phil?
I just hope you feel better by Christmas.
Yeah. I do too. It's been
Lots
kind
of water,
under
rest.
Oh, thank you. I will do that. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of some more municipal.
Is that, if it's a recommendation from the commissioner, I will absolutely do that as well. So, thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you, Phil.
Okay, come on up, Mark.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, Mark. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm here to fulfill our annual obligation to report the assessment changes to the board since the conclusion of the County Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting that occurred in June. The memo that was attached provides those parcels that have seen changes from that County Board of Appeal and Equalization. It's a similar format to previous years.
The vast majority of these are property tax special programs where the application deadline comes into play after the conclusion of the county board meeting. And so that's a record of those. There is also included in there is some tax court stipulation parcels and homesteading changes there too. So the request of our office is for the board to make these part of the official record, not necessarily approving the changes because the board doesn't need to take action in that regard, but just to accept them as part of the record.
Very good. Do I have a motion to do that?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion?
Nope.
No discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Mark was kind enough to go through this with me yesterday, so I'm
good.
much more knowledgeable now.
Anytime. Thanks. See you guys.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Okay. Community corrections. Come on up.
Morning,
Good morning.
Morning, Josh. Morning, John.
Hi, John.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You look pretty
Or
dapper
sympathy.
there, John. I don't know if I've seen you in a suit and tie.
habit of that.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we have two items today for board approval. First item is the Minnesota Department of Corrections Comprehensive Plan. This is the full plan that has to be done every other year as required by state statute. And the comprehensive plan just gives a little overview of what we're doing as an agency, some budget information, and so forth, and some stats for the last few years. I'll turn it over a little bit to John to talk about a few highlights of the comprehensive plan.
I would just bring your attention to page 6. That's really where we put our highlights in our comprehensive plan. Over the last couple of years, there's been a couple of things that we've really worked on. Continuing our evidence-based practice development. One of those things was the 10 steps to risk reduction, which is really step-by-step, as it really is laid out in there, of how to work with offenders that we're working with, starting from risk assessment all the way through to a successful discharge. Some of the other things we've done include gender responsive programming, both in our cognitive curriculums, moving on, that's mentioned there, and just in the caseload in relation to being able to be responsive to the needs of the female clientele that we're serving. The third thing that's mentioned there in our highlights is our student attendance review team, or what we also kind of term as a truancy diversion, something that we worked on closely with the county attorney's office to find ways to implement a way to kind of move upstream when we're dealing with truancy cases in the county and get into the schools and be a little more proactive. I was able to break down some barriers as it relates even to communication between us and the schools that we're serving. So we not only implemented that in our Mankato School District, but all of our outlying school districts as well, and with online students, because we have a bunch of students that also attend online. And then last thing is the ocular testing. That's one of the things that we ventured into in 2019, and that is just a different way for us to try to do drug testing without having to be as invasive as doing urine testing, which takes a look at just the reactivity of the retina. It's just an alternative to doing urine testing. So those are our primary highlights for our agency over the last couple of years. Any
Very good.
questions?
Any questions?
Just a comment, I think you guys are being extremely innovative and getting some really interesting things done. I was at the State Board of Health last week and talked about Yellow Line and some of those things, and it's exciting.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
I look at that ocular testing and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I talk to other people about it, and they, I swear they think I'm talking science fiction. And I said, no, this is how we are. One of our tests used to make sure that people on probation are staying clean.
It's very different. I had to get used to it at first myself because it's just not how you're used to doing business. We did things always the same way for years. You did a urine test, or we have a PBT for alcohol.
Sure.
And this is just looking at doing something completely different. But we're learning from other agencies as well. There's other counties that have implemented this same device. And we're making sure then we're also looking at the outcomes to see if it's being effective as well.
And how are the outcomes coming through?
I've been happy with the outcomes so far. I think that, it's been a learning curve for everybody in our agency. So, we just took a look at some numbers from this past fall, leading back into the summer when we really fully implemented, and we're happy with the outcomes. So.
Because one of the items that we did is that everybody that came to the ocular device, that even if it said that they were clean or no detection, about 15% of those, we were going to do a urinalysis anyway, just because that's really your test to make sure your device is working correctly. And as we went through, we were probably around 3% of those that could have been positive, that we wish we could have. But that number is probably in line with what we've seen from some of the other data, and from what we've heard, we should be dropping down into that maybe that 1.5 to maybe 1.8%.
Not bad.
Which, when you look at some other testing, that is much lower than false positives or false negatives either way. So feel pretty good about that.
And I'm sure the small percentages are the lower amounts of alcohol or the lower amounts of drugs that are in. I mean, they're not the ones that are coming in, with a high amount on them.
Those poppy seeds.
Yeah, that's.
We've heard that from time or two over the years, the poppy seeds or the dust in the air that's causing that. So
The car that you were in.
That's right.
There's some truth to that, the poppy seeds. This works on every kind of drug?
It can actually flag to tell you what substances to test for. So the biggest thing is you have to have a baseline first that is a clean sample, and then all of your subsequent scans after that are in comparison to that baseline scan. And then basically the outcome is directing you or telling you what substances it is that you should be able to test for. So you can see a test result that says test for these 2 substances or test for these 4 substances. So we're also trying to kind of target our then follow-up urine sample with those are the substances that we want to directly test for.
because it doesn't get rid of the urine samples completely. That would be a goal at some point in time for everyone that works within the system, but the urine sample is really important when you first do that baseline scan to make sure that you're testing for that they have a clean baseline.
Okay, great stuff.
Thank you.
Yes, good. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
All right, and then the other item I had for today was just requesting that the board appoints the following individuals to a 2-year term. That's our Corrections Advisory Board. Those terms would go from January 1st, 2020 until December 31st of 2021. And all the members are listed there. The only real change to that list is actually our membership from our department. The last 2 years have been filled with Sarah Nelson, who was a drug court probation officer, and we've tried to have a rotation so our agents can also experience our advisory board. So the person we have listed there is Paula Hearn, who actually works with both adult and juvenile clients, so I thought it would be a good fit. He works with our sex offender clients that we work with.
Okay.
Yeah, for listed. We have Sarah.
I think in the board packet, it should have been the one that had her removed.
Okay.
Oh, yep, I think in the first one that was emailed.
The first alliteration.
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
Yeah.
Yep. They're dressed up for later.
Okay. We'll move on to administrative services. Bob?
Mr. Chair, the first item is county board minutes for December 3rd.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They're approved.
Next would be the bills for the weeks indicated.
Move the bills.
Second?
Any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bills are approved.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, then item number 9 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. Just have informational items for the board today. As you're aware, John was promoted into the Community Directions Director position, and so that change has now occurred. We have filled a custody officer position, and we've increased the hours of another custody officer from part-time to full-time, and then ultimately initiated recruitment for a part-time custody officer. We did receive a resignation of a land use and natural resource planner, and so we've initiated recruitment to refill that position. We also had a resignation of a part-time custody officer, so we'll begin recruitment to refill that part-time position. And then in the library, we had a request of an individual to reduce their hours, and that just happened to coincide with interest from our on-call staff person to increase their hours, and so we posted that opportunity and made that switch. So win-win for both individuals there.
Okay, any questions for Bob? Okay, good.
Item number 10 in your packet then is the 2020 adopted levy. There's a resolution there as required by Minnesota Statute 275.07 certifying the 2020 property tax levy. Blue Earth County staff began working on the budget in April of this year. We held meetings with department heads in June, and work sessions with the county board occurred throughout the summer and into fall. These discussions have resulted in a recommendation of a levy of $38,972,865. This levy represents an increase of 6% over the property taxes that were assessed in 2019. I am recommending the 2020 property tax levy of $38,972,865 be certified to the Blue Earth County Finance Director.
I'll move adoption of the 2020 adopted levy.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chair, but just congratulations to the staff and the county board for putting this levy together. A lot of energy went into this with work sessions, meetings, and whatnot, so I just thought that should be mentioned.
Yes.
I agree with Kip. You know, people don't understand the amount of work sessions and budget hearings that we have gone through on the staff, especially the staff. I mean, and Bob have gone through since last summer to get this settled. So congratulations to put this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your hard work on that. Okay, any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Budget is set.
Mr. Chair and
Levy is set, not the budget.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 11 in your packet is the 2020 proposed budget. Minnesota Statutes 375A.06 does require the county administrator to prepare and submit an annual budget and long-range capital expenditure program to the county board. As I mentioned previously, staff have been working on the proposed budget since April of this year, and it has been reviewed numerous times by the county board. As such, I'm recommending approval of a resolution regarding the 2020 budget, which projects expenditures at $114,356,462.
Okay.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
It's
Okay,
good budget.
there's no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Budget set. Okay.
Item number 12 in your packet then is a memo regarding salary adjustments. It's been our practice to approve general wage adjustments for all non-union employees, supervisors, county department heads, and elected officials that are the same as negotiated with our labor unions. That would be a 2% general wage adjustment effective January 1st of 2020. And then the proposed county commissioner salary for 2020 would be $38,688 effective again January 1st.
Okay.
I'll move the proposed salary adjustments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Item number 13 then in your packet is the 2020 per diem rate. Our policy does state that each year the county board will establish the per diem rate and the various boards and the various boards and commissions are eligible for those per diems. The current per diems are set at $75 per day for a full day of meetings, $50 for a half day, and the definition of what those full day and half day are included in the memo. And so recommending the same rates for 2020.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Do you know how many years this has been set at $75?
Over 17.
Yeah, it's been a long
It's been
time.
that since I've been on the board.
Clean, you probably know more than,
It was probably a long, long time.
was it before you came on?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know it was this when I started.
I'm
17
sure
years
it's in the
ago.
minutes somewhere.
Yeah.
I've been with the county 32 years. It has changed in that time, but it's probably been more than 20 years, I would guess.
I'm pretty sure it's never changed since I've been on the board. I think it's been the
Just a
same.
question.
It's been a long time.
Mhm.
Okay. Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 14 in your packet discusses the refugee resettlement issue. The board is aware that on September 26th, that President Trump issued Executive Order 13888 titled Enhancing State and Local Involvement in Refugee Resettlement. This executive order basically requires the governor and then county boards to provide written consent to the federal government prior to any refugees being resettled within the state of Minnesota in our case and within Blue Earth County. Refugees are a group of people that are fleeing their home countries due to violence or persecution, and so these individuals have gone through an extensive vetting process. The statistics say that more than 70% of these refugees are women and children, and the resettlement has been happening here in our country as well as in Blue Earth County for many years. We have seen some resettlement, like I say, in Blue Earth County. The numbers have actually decreased over the last few years with an average of about 3 per year over the last 3 years. And actually, the United States government is going to allow less refugees into the country in fiscal year 2020. So we'll probably see that number continue to decline. But based on the fact that this has been going on for many years, it's just a new executive order requiring county approval or consent. Staff are recommending that we provide that consent. I know in my memo I indicated that granting the county administrator authority, but I think now it probably makes more sense for the county board chair to sign the letter indicating consent from Blue Earth County.
Very good. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move approval of the refugee resettlement.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? There's any discussion? Okay, there's no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 15 in your packet then is renewal of tobacco licenses. We have 8 entities in the county that have renewed or requested renewal of their tobacco license, and so they have submitted the license fee, and the entities are listed there, but we're recommending approval.
Okay, I have a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They're approved.
Item number 16 in your packet then is an application for an exempt permit from the St. Clair Athletic Backers. This is a raffle that they intend to hold out at Indian Island Winery, and so we're recommending approval here today.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved.
Item number 17 in your packet then is an appointment to the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment. We have 2 members of the county's Planning Commission who also serve on the Board of Adjustment, who have their 3-year terms ending at the end of this month. Barry Jocks has indicated he would like to continue, and so he's seeking reappointment. Lyle Femright has been with the Planning Commission for many, many years. He has indicated that he will vacate that role at the end of this term, and so we certainly appreciate his service on the Planning Commission. But the action we need from the board then is to reappoint Barry Jocks.
Okay, sir.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Barry has been, Mr. Chair, Barry's been doing a great job on this committee. Lyle is going to be missed. We're going to have a hard time filling his shoes, so if anybody knows anybody in the rural area that would like to sit on the Planning and Zoning Board, we certainly would take their names. I don't know if the staff has reached out to anybody yet, but Lyle was from District 5, my district, and so we got 2 from District 3 and 1 from Mankato, so it's kind of nice to keep that across the county. So we'll be looking for more names, but it's a big commitment. So if you are talking to somebody, it's a Wednesday nights, and there's a lot of information to read before the meeting. So and we have a really good board in place right now. It's very active and almost perfect attendance. So
that's wonderful.
Appreciate somebody can take the time so they understand up front. So be looking for your leadership and trying to find somebody to fill that role.
Great. Well, reach out to your folks that you think would be good. Well, okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 18 then is the financial status report for November 30th. We have just 1 more month remaining in our fiscal year. Our total revenues are a little over $90 million at this point, and expenses are $99 million. That is, again, anticipated that we would have a significant deficit with our building project. We had planned for a $12 million deficit at the end of the year, so we're probably a little bit better than that number at this point. You'll see a couple of things that continue to concern me. The state and federal revenues continue to lag behind, and I'm hoping that in the month of December that they will correct themselves, but that is a number that has continued to surface in these monthly reports. Aid assistance line under expenditures, we're at just about 100% of our annual budget there, so the need continues to come in the door, and the assistance has been provided to support those folks, but we'll probably be a little over budget on that line. Fortunately, we'll make a little bit of that up in some other areas. Our contract and fees line is, again, a little bit lagging behind. Doesn't appear we'll hit that budget target, so that will certainly be helpful as we move forward. I would also point out back on the revenue side, our interest on investments have been quite a bit higher than we anticipated, which is good news. Obviously, with the markets and everything the way they are, we're continuing to see strong return on our investments, which provides some relief to the tax situation.
Magic has been doing good then.
Yes. Under the enterprise fund, our landfill, you'll see that the total revenues are just slightly over $3 million and expenses are about 3.2. You will see under the expenses that we did have expenditures in land improvements, buildings, and machinery and equipment. That again is kind of typical at the landfill. We continue to make those investments to keep that facility running appropriately. The second page has cash and investment balances listed. Our total county funds sit at about $111 million. We do continue to see strong reserves that allow us to address those needs. We will, again, with our 2020 budget, be spending down a little bit of those reserves, assuming everything goes as planned with that budget. But and plan to spend down, like I say, that 12 million in 2019. We will spend down a considerable amount of that, the way things are looking with their building project and everything else. So overall, though, things are pretty much in line with where we hoped they would be at this point in the year. Be happy to answer any questions.
No questions?
No questions for Bob?
None for me.
Very good. Looks good. Okay, we're at that point where we have commissioners' reports on committees. Anybody want to start?
I can start.
Okay, good.
On the 3rd, we had employee recognition for people who have worked for the county for many years. It was great. On the 4th, Vance and I had Transportation Alliance, the legislative committee, and we talked about the partnerships that the Transportation Alliance is trying to build in order to get a transportation bill passed. So the funding plan. From December 5th through the 7th, I was at the NACO board meeting. Just an interesting thing. Counties do about $600 billion a year in purchases. So they're a significant purchaser. So we have FSC, which we had U.S. Communities, which is something that partnership has disbanded, and so we're looking at different ways to fill that hole. The NACO board meeting, 27% of our budget is made up by dues. That's all. The rest is all other partnerships or investments. So that's going to make a difference. Also, NACO is going to do a huge focus on cybersecurity, working with our IT people at NACO and working with counties around the nation. So I think that's a great opportunity for us to look at our cybersecurity and how can they help us. We also did the priorities. I've sent that to all of you. And also, we're working on the blueprint. What is NACO going to look like in the future? And so the focus, there's 5 focus areas: member engagement, leadership experience, policy advancement, thought leadership, financial health, and talent and well-being. So that'll be our focus for the next few years. The main thing that we're looking at legislatively is restoring the partnership, which is kind of interesting. It's the partnership between Congress and the presidency. That was my initiative when I was president of NACO. What goes around comes around. And then a few years after that, Glenn Whitley took it on, and it's kind of been lost since then, so it's coming back. And then from the 8th through the 11th, we had AMC, the board meeting, and then the annual conference, which everyone was at, so everybody has a pretty good feel for that. On the 13th, I had the State Community Health Advisory Committee. The focus of that this year is going to be children of incarcerated parents. They're kind of lost. They don't want to tell anyone that their parents or parent is incarcerated, and there's a lot of isolation and loneliness. So how do we deal with that, and what changes we might have to make in the future? I think it's a great focus for the department, and we're also looking at the department, what is the relationship between the county and the Department of Health? It's been one of the strongest partnerships there's been, but we're going to look at it again and see, are we missing some things? Are things that can make counties better, make the Department of Health better? So a lot of great opportunities there. On the 14th, Mark and I went to Congressman Hagedorn's town hall meeting. And then yesterday, I had a finance and intergovernmental meeting, and the priorities for that committee at NACO is election integrity. They haven't seen any of the verbiage yet for, as you all know, the government will shut down the 21st unless bills are passed and signed by the president. The House has passed election integrity, which would allow $425 million for election security. They haven't seen the verbiage yet, but that's what the House is looking at passing today or tomorrow, and the Senate after that. And also, haven't seen the verbiage yet, but they want to repeal the Cadillac tax, which has been something that NACO's been pushing for a long time. And also SALT, that they increased from $10,000 a year to $20,000 a year in 19, 20, and 21. Unfunded mandates are yet another issue that the committee is looking at. It's interesting. Many, many years ago, I was at the White House when President Clinton signed the bill that said there will be no more unfunded mandates. I don't know what happened. So that's the end of my report.
Very good. Kip?
After the last board meeting, as Colleen already mentioned, we had our employee appreciation for the staff here, and it's always a good program. Then I was at department head and planning and zoning that following Wednesday. We already seen the items from planning and zoning, so nothing to report there. SWCD, business as usual there. They got a couple things they're just trying to wrap up yet this year to get their projects done. They are moving forward with their plan for stuff going on next year, and tree sales are already starting, so that's always encouraging. I was up at the AMC conference, but I didn't attend anything for the AMC, but I did go up to the MCIT meeting and got to sit in on that, and Robin gave a good report. Everything's going fairly well, except we are having some issues with our reinsurance. The rates are much higher than they were last year, which is probably the smaller part of the problem, but the larger part is that the reinsurance kicks in instead of $500,000, it kick in at $1 million. So this could get expensive. They'll be talking more about that in the future here, so we'll have to just kind of keep track of what's going on with that. Felix is the new chair of the organization and did a fine job running the meeting. Then after we got back from that, I was on the Mike conference call because we had another meeting here that afternoon, so I called in. Everything's going good at MICA. We are done with our platform and approved the last of those items at that meeting. That afternoon, I was down here at the courthouse for the planning and zoning feedlot ordinance, along with Will and Vance and Mark. So Colleen, you missed out on a really good one.
I missed it, yeah.
But no, we had a lot of really good feedback. The staff had 4 or 5 stations set up.
Yeah.
Garrett gave a nice presentation, kind of an overview, which only took a few minutes. And then everybody kind of split off and got to talk to those individual people that had maybe some concerns. I think that we, as commissioners, had some good conversations with the people directly. I think that worked out well. And I know I had some really good conversations with some people about setbacks, the 40 to 10 acres. So a lot of good conversations. So it'll be interesting to see how that report comes out.
Yeah.
Then yesterday I was at my MVAC meeting, our ENP meeting, and we had Amanda's review. We sent out a review to all of the board members. We got back 17 responses. Some of them were staff, her key staff members, the 5 management staff, and she had a really good report. She's been doing a great job. Everything that we had in there, and it was probably about a 2.5-page review that we filled out, but everything was satisfactory or above, and so she has been doing a great job for MVAC. Had a couple other items to take care of for the Head Start. This morning, Mark and I were at a sharing tree distribution, getting the gifts loaded up and sent over so they could get them handed out this afternoon. And then we were down here for a setting a ditch hearing with Waseca County this morning on a conference call.
Very good. Thank you,
Can I
Kip.
make a comment?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you for doing the sharing tree. That makes
Oh, it's
such a
fun.
difference in
Very
people's
nice.
lives. Yeah.
I'm a rookie at it. I've been only doing it with my wife for probably, my wife got me involved in it for probably, I don't know, 15 or 16 or 17 years, but Commissioner Peoples has been hauling those gifts with his staff in a semi.
Ever since the
Started
beginning.
for over 30 years.
Because it was a college student from MSU that came forward with the idea.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
And he came out to like our place, you know, for be the Santa sleigh, so to speak. And then, he got other people involved, but yeah.
Thank you so
That's
much.
great.
That is wonderful.
His crew shows up this morning with him, Mark himself, his 3 staff, a semi, and they will be at it all day today, because they go to the Armory first, then they go over to St. Peter, then they come back here and drop off at 3 or 4 different places.
Oh, yeah, they got it, yeah.
And the commissioner himself even helps loads the packages, and
Yeah.
his employees make sure he loads the packages.
yeah.
They don't let either one of us off the hook, even though we got a suit and tie on. They don't care. You
Well,
grab
that's,
packages.
that makes it where they really want
It's
you to
big
do
boxes
something.
on a cart, so
Yeah,
it was
that's
pretty
great.
awesome.
Yeah, that is
It's a lot of
wonderful.
fun.
It's fun, we did miss our delivery though, because we had
Yeah,
to be
well-
at a ditch.
We'll get up there later.
Great, thank you. Vance?
All right, well, just like everyone else, a board meeting on December 3rd, we had our employee recognition. We did have our budget hearing that evening. our
We
team.
did, I forgot about that.
So I was waiting for you two to bring that up.
Yeah.
Says we were all there, folks.
We were.
Yes, it was.
Okay. On December 4th, we had a Transportation Alliance Legislative Committee. Okay. On the 5th, I had a South Central Towards Zero Death meeting at MnDOT. On December 6th,
Don't forget your Christmas party that you were at.
what's that?
You were at the Christmas party, weren't you, for the township officers?
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, another thing I forgot about.
Yeah.
That's why we're all in this together.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, on the 6th, I hosted a coffee with a commissioner down at the Coffee Hag, and I had a few constituents come down and talk to me, and I was there for a couple hours, and actually it was pretty good. I'm going to try to plan that to do once a month, and maybe pull in one of you folks, and we could have it either at the Coffee Hag or maybe out at the Happy Shop. People tend to appreciate that. I'm not thinking Friday morning probably is a good morning, maybe Saturday morning if we have time. December 8th was the start of the AMC conference, and that was a Sunday, and I had a policy coordinating committee. I'm chair of transportation and infrastructure, and then we had our board meeting, me and Colleen on the board had our board meeting on that Sunday. The 9th, we continued on with the conference. I had my transportation and infrastructure meeting. We had our general session, and Governor Walz was there. I went to some instructive meetings, rewriting the rural initiative with Ben Winchester, who does a wonderful job. Really talks about not so much being a brain drain, but maybe actually increasing the brain power in your rural areas, because people are starting to come back when they're in their mid to late 30s and coming back, and especially now with being able to have internet service and stuff, that makes a big difference. I again that afternoon had a policy coordinating committee meeting. On the 10th, with the conference, we had our General Assembly. I went to an emerging social media issues for local officials meeting. I went to another meeting called Writing Your Own Narrative, which is basically it was Otter Tail County and how they markets their county, and it was kind of interesting, and I think we're doing a pretty good job ourselves. We had our business meeting. Mary Jo McGuire was voted in second vice president, and Larry Lloyd
Lindor
was voted in as secretary treasurer.
Yep.
And then we had our past president's reception and the White Sidewalls play. That was fun. On December 11th, we had our awards banquet, and the end of the conference, and then that evening I went to the feedlot ordinance meeting, and that was interesting. That was really interesting. Really interesting to show that Blue Earth County is actually much more stringent at this time than the MPCA, which is strange to me. But let's see. December 12th, my wife and I went down to the Blue Earth County Library, and Santa Claus just happened to show up, and Granny Elf was there, and they read to the children.
Did you do cookies too?
Yeah, I was fed cookies. I happened to, Santa happened to allow the kids to sit in his lap and tell them what they wanted, and while that was going on, they were making cookies. They weren't expecting that to happen. They didn't know Santa was going to do that, but it was a load of fun.
I bet.
Mary and I just had a great time. And then on the 13th, I had an area transportation plan meeting at MnDOT, and me and Mark and then Nick Friends and Mark Frost did bell ringing down at Cub West. That again was a lot of fun. I'm not sure if they want us back again.
Well, the customers at least.
Please get called or anything?
No,
Okay,
no,
then
but you know,
they'll take you back.
You know, the customers consistently came out with huge smiles and telling us that they were hearing us all the way to the back of the store, and but and
Especially
then
when you moved in, when we moved inside.
yeah, when we moved inside, you know, to stay warm. And then on the 16th, yesterday, I again had a Transportation Alliance Board meeting. And that's
Great.
the end of my
Busy time of year, isn't it?
busy time.
Yes.
Mark?
Let's see here. We had to have our employee recognition and the budget hearing. And the 3rd and the 4th was department heads. Then on the 5th, that Thursday, I did go to the GMG, the Rural Ag Forum. Went to that for a little while.
Oh,
And I had
brings you.
another event after that. Just kind of stood there and met a few people, and then I had to go, but that's always interesting. The Friday, they had my Semrix Joint Powers with recycling, and that was in Casson. And then we had our AMC, the 9th, 10th, 11th. I think some of the things were mentioned. Yeah, we had our general government right away on that first day. A couple other ones that I always get interested in, the of course, the affordable housing, one of the seminars, whatever, and then the incarcerated children of incarcerated parents. That was rather interesting. And there's several that were good. And then Vance mentioned all the other things with the business meetings and all. Then we came back and did the feedlot update, the hearing. That was good. And then Friday, well, you had your constituent. I had All Seasons Arena, the board meeting in the morning, and then we had that was evening, was the Cub West with our state senator for a short time. He wasn't there the whole time. And then Colleen and I on that Saturday.
45 minutes, I believe he was there. So.
That's the senators are always fast to be late. That's just how it works. And then Hagedorn Town Hall we had Saturday, and then Monday yesterday did have Partners for Affordable Housing, our fundraising committee meeting. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you, Mark. Most of my stuff has been mentioned already, but I was at the employee appreciation thing on the 13th, the budget hearing. On the 4th, I was at department heads. 5th, I had SWCD and the township officers Christmas party. That was enjoyable. And then, of course, I was up at AMC. I was at the Extension Advisory Board meeting, the Public Safety Policy Committee. Attended a couple of the informational things, the Small Cities one that Vance mentioned, and how to deal with the media. Wonderful information there. And, of course, the feedlot open house after that. Bob and I met with INS regarding County Ditch 28 on the 12th. On the 14th, I had a landowner meeting with a gentleman out north of Lake Crystal that had some concerns. Yesterday, I met with Bob to go over the agenda and that type of stuff, and then this morning, Kip and I had the AD 83 ditch meeting before the board meeting. So that concludes my report. So any other thoughts before we recess? Okay, do I have a motion to recess?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We recess. Thank you, everyone.
Good job,
Thank
Mr. Chair.